All right, so today we're diving deep into the world of startups.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, especially into how to come up with those light bulb moment business
Those
ideas.
aha moments.
Exactly. And then the even trickier part, I think, how to turn those ideas into successful companies.
Yeah, that's the real challenge, isn't it?
For sure. And, to help us on this journey,
Mm-hmm.
you've been digging into some fascinating research,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
especially this Turkish source, Startup Fikirleri.
Yes, it's really given me a fresh perspective.
I'm curious, what are your initial thoughts? What struck you about it?
Well, one thing that really jumped out at me
Okay.
was this emphasis on the fact that, like, every successful startup,
Mm-hmm.
it always starts with a problem.
Makes sense.
But it's not just any problem, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be a problem that you're, like, personally passionate about solving.
Oh, interesting.
Something that really, like, bothers you.
Yeah.
Something that you genuinely want to fix.
So it's almost like that saying, scratch your own itch.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it.
So I get that.
Startup Fikirleri even uses this phrase, derinden hissedilen,
Okay.
which basically translates to, like, deeply felt.
It's like a gut feeling.
Yeah, almost like an obsession, right? This
Yeah.
thing's got to be fixed.
So you're saying it's got to be more than just spotting a gap in the market.
Right. It has to be something that you're, like, truly, truly connected to.
Because you're the one who's going to be putting in the blood, sweat, and tears.
Exactly. You need that fuel to push through all the obstacles.
Makes sense. But how do you go from this deeply felt problem, like you said, to an actual viable business idea?
Well, the source, it suggests looking at the problem
Okay.
through the lens of current trends.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like,
Yeah.
Uber and Airbnb,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't exist if they hadn't tapped into that whole rise of the sharing economy.
Right.
And, mobile technology,
Absolutely.
Startup Fikirleri, it highlights some similar trends in the Turkish context.
Okay, like what?
Well, for instance, there's a huge demand for e-commerce solutions and a growing interest in sustainable and locally sourced products.
So it's about finding that intersection
Yes.
between what you're passionate about and what the world actually needs.
It's all about connecting those dots.
I like that, connecting the dots. Okay, so let's say we've done that.
Mhm.
We've got this problem we care about. We've looked at the trends.
Mhm.
What's next?
Well, Startup Fikirleri is very big on testing your idea
Oh, okay.
early and often.
Like how?
They advocate for what's called a minimum viable product,
Okay.
or MVP.
I've heard of MVPs, but I'm a little fuzzy on what they actually look like.
Okay, so imagine you have an idea for a revolutionary language learning app, right?
Mhm.
Instead of spending months and months building the perfect app,
Yeah.
you create like a basic website
Ah,
with a
nice.
simple lesson plan and a feedback form.
Hmm.
And then you share this with some potential users,
Yeah.
get their feedback.
It's like dipping your toes in the water
Exactly.
before you cannonball into the deep end.
Exactly. It helps you avoid those big, costly mistakes down the road.
Smart. Okay, but even with a tested idea, you still need some kind of roadmap, right?
Absolutely. You need a plan.
And that's where a business plan comes in.
Exactly. Startup Fikirleri is all about that solid business plan.
Okay, so what should be in that plan? Like, what does the Turkish perspective emphasize?
Well, it emphasizes having a super clear definition of your target market. Like, who are you selling to?
Right.
You need to outline your revenue model.
Mm.
How are you actually going to make money?
Yeah, makes sense.
And then your marketing and sales strategy.
So it's not just about the idea, it's about all the practicalities.
Right. It's got to be grounded in reality.
Now, speaking of reality, I'm curious, does Startup Fikirleri talk about teams at all?
Oh, absolutely. And they have some interesting insights on that, too.
Sounds like it's time to assemble our startup dream team. Let's explore that in part 2 of our deep dive. Okay, so we've got our problem, we've aligned it with the trends, we've tested it, and we even have a business plan.
It's all coming together.
It is, but now we need a team.
Right. You can't do it alone.
What does Startup Fikirleri say about building that perfect team?
What's interesting, it actually cautions against, like, focusing too much on just technical skills.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, of course, you need your developers, your engineers.
Right.
But they really stress the importance of diversity.
Diversity in what sense?
Not just like backgrounds and experiences, but, different personalities.
Different ways of thinking.
Yeah, they use this term farklı bakış açıları,
Okay.
which basically means different perspectives.
I see. So it's not just about finding people who can code.
Right.
It's about finding people who can bring something unique to the table.
Exactly. Like you need your analytical thinkers, your creative visionaries.
Yeah, and those who can actually get things done.
Exactly. They even say, like, having people who are naturally skeptical can be really valuable.
Oh, interesting, like the devil's advocate.
Yeah, someone to challenge assumptions.
Yeah.
Keep everyone on their toes.
So it's like building a well-rounded superhero team.
Exactly. You need different superpowers to conquer different challenges.
Love that analogy. Okay, but building a team requires resources. And
Mhm.
resources, well, usually that means funding.
Right. The money question.
What does Startup Ficurillery have to say about that?
Well, they acknowledge that it can be tough, especially in Turkey, for early stage startups.
I imagine.
They really emphasize bootstrapping.
Bootstrapping.
Yeah, like using your own resources, getting to revenue as fast as possible.
Oh, okay, I see.
They even suggest like bartering with other businesses to cut down on expenses.
So it's about being scrappy, finding creative solutions.
Exactly, making the most of what you have.
Okay, but let's say you've bootstrapped as much as you can. You need outside investment. What then?
They mention angel investors quite a bit.
Angel investors, those are individuals who invest their own money, right?
Right, in exchange for equity in the company.
Okay.
They also talk about government grants and programs specifically for startups.
Interesting.
It's kind of surprising, though, they don't really talk that much about venture capital.
Maybe that reflects the Turkish startup scene.
Yeah, could be.
All right, funding is crucial, but there's also the whole legal side of things.
Oh, yeah, the paperwork.
What does the source say about navigating that?
They dedicate a whole section to it.
Really?
Yeah, they stress understanding the legal requirements for setting up a business in Turkey,
Okay.
choosing the right structure, registering with authorities.
Permits, licenses, all that fun stuff.
Exactly. They say neglecting these things can cause huge problems later on.
Oh, I bet.
They even share this story about a startup that failed because they didn't protect their intellectual property.
Ouch, that's a tough lesson to learn.
Yeah, so it's really important to get that legal groundwork done.
Right. All right, so we've got our team, we've got funding, we've got the legal stuff sorted.
We're making progress.
What's next on our startup journey?
Well, Startup Ficurillery says that even with all that, you still need a deep understanding of your audience.
Okay, and what do they mean by that?
They use this phrase, müşteri odaklı düşünme, which is like customer-centric thinking.
So it's more than just demographics, right?
Yeah, it's about really understanding their needs, desires, pain points, the whole thing.
Like getting into their heads.
Exactly. They suggest doing tons of market research, surveys, focus groups,
Really getting to know your customer.
and even spending time in their environment, observing their habits.
So it's about building empathy, basically.
Exactly. You got to see the world through their eyes.
Okay, and what about innovation?
Oh, they're big on that too.
How do they define it?
They describe it as sürekli gelişim, which means continuous improvement.
So it's not a one-time thing.
No, it's constantly iterating, testing, refining based on feedback and trends.
Always evolving.
Yeah, they say if you're not evolving, you're dying.
Wow, strong words.
And that evolution applies to branding as well.
Branding, huh? Okay, what's the Turkish take on that?
Well, they really emphasize authenticity in storytelling. Like they say, Turkish consumers are drawn to brands with genuine stories, a real sense of purpose.
So it's not just about a catchy logo or slogan.
It's got to be deeper than that.
You need a story that resonates.
Exactly. And they suggest drawing inspiration from Turkish culture and heritage.
Ah, like tapping into those local values.
Yeah, they even talk about incorporating Turkish design aesthetics into branding.
So it's about being global, but also staying true to your roots.
Right, that local connection can be really powerful.
Okay, so we've got our customer-centric approach, we're innovating, we've got a brand story.
We're almost there.
What else is crucial for building a successful startup?
Startup Ficurillery says financial discipline is key.
Ah, of course, you can't escape the numbers.
Right, they talk about managing cash flow carefully, tracking every penny.
Avoiding those unnecessary expenses.
Exactly, creating a detailed budget and sticking to it.
Like having a financial diet.
Yeah, and even seeking advice from financial experts, especially early on.
So it's about balancing ambition with prudence.
Absolutely, you got to dream big, but also be smart with your money.
Makes sense, especially in a market like Turkey, where access to capital can be limited.
Right, it's about building a lean, efficient operation.
One that can weather the storms.
And speaking of weathering storms, that actually leads us to the final piece of advice from Startup Ficurillery.
Ooh, I'm all ears. What's the final secret?
It's all about sürdürülebilirlik.
Say that again.
Sürdürülebilirlik. It means Sustainability.
Sustainability, okay, but in what sense?
In a much broader sense than just the financial side.
Okay, elaborate.
They argue that a truly successful startup, it's one that's not only profitable, but also socially and environmentally responsible.
So it's about having a positive impact beyond just the bottom line.
Exactly. They encourage entrepreneurs to think about their impact on the community, the environment, even their employees.
Building a business that's good for the world, basically.
Yes. And they highlight some Turkish startups that are doing just that,
Like what?
using eco-friendly materials, minimizing waste, supporting local communities.
So sustainability is woven into the fabric of their business model.
It is, and they argue it's not just ethical, it's good business too.
How so?
Consumers are becoming more conscious, especially younger generations.
They want to support businesses that align with their values.
Exactly. So doing good can actually be good for your bottom line.
Interesting. So Startup Fickerlery advocates for a holistic approach.
It does, considering not just profit, but social and environmental impact as well.
A very well-rounded perspective.
I think so too. And it's something to think about no matter where you're building your startup.
Absolutely. Food for thought for all of us.
It is.
Well, this has been a fantastic dive into the Turkish startup scene.
I agree. It's been really insightful.
We've covered so much ground.
From those initial ideas to building a sustainable business, the whole journey.
Before we wrap up, I'm curious, what stood out to you the most from Startup Fickerlery?
What really struck me was their emphasis on authenticity and purpose. It's like they're saying a truly successful startup, it's not just about chasing profits.
It's about making a difference.
Exactly. It's about building something you believe in, something that contributes to the world.
That's a powerful message.
It is, and it's something we can all aspire to.
I agree, no matter what kind of business we're building.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up part 2, we want to hear from you, our listener.
Yeah. What resonated with you?
What ideas got you thinking?
What problem are you passionate about solving?
We hope this deep dive has given you some inspiration.
And some practical tips, too.
To take that next step on your entrepreneurial journey.
Because who knows, maybe you'll be the next startup superstar.
Exactly. So keep exploring, keep innovating, and we'll be back soon for the final part of our deep dive.
See you then.
All right, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here.
We've been on quite a journey exploring this Turkish source, Startup Fickerlery.
It's been an eye-opener for sure.
Definitely. And before we wrap up, I want to make sure we distill, the key takeaways,
Yeah, the nuggets of wisdom.
Exactly. What should our listeners really walk away with?
Well, I think the biggest thing, the overarching message, is that starting a successful business, it's not just about having a great idea.
Right. It takes more than that.
It's about connecting with a problem you really, truly care about.
Yeah, like we talked about, that deeply felt problem.
Exactly. And then channeling that passion into a venture that aligns with trends and meets a real need,
It's about finding that sweet spot.
Yes, where your passion meets practicality.
I like that. And then, once you've got that idea, Startup Fickerlery is really big on taking action.
Oh yeah, don't just sit on it.
Test your assumptions, get feedback, refine your approach.
The whole MVP thing, remember?
Oh yeah, the minimum viable product, like launching a simple website instead of a full-blown app.
Exactly. Fail fast, learn faster.
And of course, Startup Fickerlery reminds us that it's a team effort.
You can't do it alone.
Finding those talented individuals, but also making sure you have a diverse group of people.
Yeah, different perspectives, different strengths, different ways of thinking.
Absolutely, because you're going to face all sorts of challenges, right?
Right. And speaking of challenges, Startup Fickerlery gives some really good advice on funding.
Especially in the Turkish context.
Yeah, bootstrapping, being creative with your resources.
Bartering even.
Yeah, making the most of what you've got.
But even if you're bootstrapping, you still need a solid plan.
Absolutely. That business plan, it's your roadmap.
Your guiding star.
Defining your market, your revenue model, your marketing strategy.
And those financial projections. Can't forget those.
Oh, yeah. Got to be realistic. Assess the risks.
It's all about balance, right?
Right. Big dreams, but smart decisions.
Makes total sense. Now, beyond just the financial sustainability, Startup Fickerlery also got us thinking about sustainability in a broader sense.
Oh, absolutely. Building businesses that are good for the world.
Not just the bottom line.
Yeah, thinking about your impact on the community, the environment, your employees.
It's about making a positive difference.
Exactly. And they even highlighted some Turkish startups that are doing just that.
Those examples were really inspiring.
They were, using eco-friendly materials, supporting local communities.
Minimizing waste, being conscious of their footprint.
It shows that sustainability can be a core part of your business.
It's not an afterthought. It's built right in.
Exactly. And, they make a good point.
What's that?
It's not just ethical. It's good business.
Because
consumers are caring more and more about these things.
Especially the younger generation.
They want to support companies that share their values.
So doing good can actually be good for business.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
I like that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the takeaway is clear.
What's that?
Building a successful startup, it's not just about chasing profits.
Right. It's bigger than that.
It's about finding that problem you're passionate about.
Building a great team, creating a product that meets a need.
And doing it all in a way that's financially sound, socially responsible, and sustainable.
It's about building a business you can be proud of.
A business that makes a positive impact.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So we want to hear from you, our listener.
Yeah, what are your takeaways?
What resonated with you?
What idea are you excited about?
We hope this deep dive has given you some inspiration.
And some practical guidance.
To take that leap.
Start building that dream.
Keep exploring, keep innovating, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself.
And your vision.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.